Hi, welcome to the Transformational Travel section of Into Me I See magazine. And as mentioned earlier in the magazine, if you did get to watch the video on fulfillment of philanthropy with legacy planeteer Maria Reardon, I have introduced the fact that she's got an amazing story to tell about how she ended up in Calcutta, how she ended up meeting and interviewing Mother Teresa, and I'll let her finish that story because it's pretty cool. Marie, how are you?
Hey, I'm great, Jody, and thank you so much for having me back. And I'm so excited because, we're on about the inspirational travel section, and I get to see the two of you, Jody and Nat, in London next week. So I'm so excited.
It is exciting. And that's for the 12-12-12. It's just an amazing date. So it's absolutely appropriate to be meeting you and Nisha there as well.
Absolutely. So thank you. We're excited to be there. I guess, yeah, there is a couple of aspects and a couple of sides to this. What people read and saw in the international press, whether it be on a radio station or on the TV or in a newspaper or magazine back 15 years ago, was that yes, the last interview that Mother Teresa gave face to face in her home in Calcutta before she died was with me. And people read and they see that, and they might, I feel, have this perception that, oh yes, I just got on a plane in Ireland and flew to Calcutta and it was all effortless. And
Do
they
tell the real story then.
I always tell the real story. It's just that the press choose to pick out that highlight.
That's
Oh
it.
wow.
So
Yeah, if I
the other thing is, I mean, I remember you telling me that Mother Teresa passed away only within a week of Princess Diana, didn't she?
yeah, yeah.
And it was literally only a few days after you had actually met with her.
So Mother Teresa and Diana were together. It was like in New York in the States, and within days, Mother Teresa then flew into India, where I was, and she was in Calcutta. And the next thing you know, within a week of each other, Diana and Mother Teresa were dead. So it's like it was it was 1997. It was actually, I think, exactly how Mother Teresa wanted it, because she never wanted publicity. This was a woman, Jodie, and I don't know if you've seen a photograph of her bedroom that I have, that was recreated. Um, she won the Nobel Peace Prize, I think it was back in 1979. And this woman was so damn humble, and I say that with respect. Imagine keeping your Nobel Peace Prize in a box under your bed called awards.
Okay.
It's just, I mean, you're dealing with someone on such a different level, on such a different plane, on such a different blue sky level of universe that I'm still trying to figure it out.
So tell me, was it her work in the world? Like, I mean, you mentioned, you shared with us in the first video that as a young child, you first learned about Mother Teresa and you wanted to meet her. But was it the work that she was doing that took you to Calcutta in the first place?
It was interesting because, I say there's a series of coincidences led to this. When I was 7, I knew with certainty I would meet her someday. I just didn't know how it was going to happen. And it's almost like your unconscious mind takes on a goal or something, and it's working in the background, and you don't consciously realize it until you're there sitting with the woman. Um, but I think it was the work of NGOs, non governmental organization, volunteers. I think it was really Irish people working in the third world and making a difference in people's lives that took me to fund that project and to go and get a loan. Two banks turned me down and said no, and a credit union was crazy enough to give me the money, and I paid back the loan to fund the project so I could go. So I think the first thing, of course, I loved, cherished, and adored all that Mother Teresa had done, and Nobel Peace Prize winner. But it was the volunteers on the ground helping people day to day from Ireland that attracted me to go do the project and also make a documentary in the process. So I hope that answers your question. So
Yes, definitely.
indirectly, it was Mother Teresa, but directly, it was volunteers on the ground.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a good clarification, exactly from what you were saying before about how the press can change things around.
Oh,
And and like you were saying, she was actually in New York when you were in Calcutta.
yeah, I was working my butt off up to my neck in dirt in the slums of Calcutta and crying my eyes out at what I was seeing in the evenings when I went back to my room. And just whoa. And she wasn't even in the country. She was over in America. She was on a tour. She was with Diana. And then I remember passing I remember walking down the street in Calcutta and passing um, a store that had, I think it was the Indian Times newspaper at the front, something like that. And there was a picture, and they said, it was like, I can't remember the exact headline, but it was like, she's known as Mother, so Mother's back in town or something. And I went, oh wow, that's really cool. Mother Teresa's back in India. Oh wow. And I kept walking. I
Yeah,
didn't even buy the paper.
yeah. So
um,
how did that then lead to, how did you even find her and
Yeah, so I was up to my neck in it, in dirt, witnessing men, women, and children and families. I was photographing and documenting this, bathing once a day in the sewers. Um, Volunteering in a couple of different AIDS projects. One was for children living with HIV, another was for adults living with HIV. And other support homes for men and women who had to resort to prostitution and their kids were at home. So you see all of life. I saw 3-year-olds breaking open batteries and being burnt with acid from the battery companies in their sweatshops with their sports gear. I mean, I saw some of the biggest sports companies in the world. I won't name names here, but we know who they are. The biggest battery companies in the world, the biggest sports companies in the world, and people watching this are wearing their sweatshirts, their trainers, their t-shirts, and these 3-year-old kids are working in sweatshops in Calcutta back in 1997. You see it all, and then some. Um, and in the middle of one of my duties one day, I was walking down the street and I stood out like a sore thumb. I mean, I'm Irish, I don't tan, I burn. So you see this like red blop walking down the street. And it was so funny because the children, to this day when I'm in Africa and India, you've got children pinching me, calling me pinky, pinky. And I was, I worked with some people in the Philippines as well. And there was a woman from the Philippines in Los Angeles last year. And she said, I got to get a picture with you because you're translucent. And so I really stood out in a population of 20 million people in a city as small as Limerick, 20 miles from where I grew up, where there's only 100,000 people. So you're cramming 20 million people into a place where I knew 100,000 people live. It was nuts. It was crazy. It was over the top. It was an explosion of experience for the senses. I'm very, very sensitive and emotional and kinesthetic. Noise 24/7. It was like overload.
so
So
automatic transformation, even just in that
unbelievable.
part of it, without the volunteering, without what occurred after that, just the pure physical act of being there was obviously a mind and body
And the other
experience.
thing, I actually, my sense of smell is very acute. I don't drink alcohol, but for 7 years, a European winemaking family taught me everything they knew about wine and champagne through smell.
Yeah.
That's how acute my sense of smell is. I have a good sense of taste, but my sense of smell. So you've got a city of 20 million people. There's no sewage system. And you land off the plane, they open the doors, and that's what you're smelling for the entire time you're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that was tough going at the start, and then you get used to it, and you get this kind of a, what was it? It was like a peppermint gel, and
Menthol or something. Yeah.
I don't know, and you just get a mint gel, and you stick it up your nose to try and deal with it when you get up in the morning, and I was walking down the street one day, kind of minding my own business, but taking it all in. And I literally bumped into an Irish nun.
Ah.
And she was wearing, the very distinctive white and blue Mother Teresa type dress. And I went, oh, wow, oh, okay. I was like, oh, she's dressed like Mother Teresa in the back of my head. Oh, wow, that's cool. And I never thought anything more about it. And she kind of, we get talking and chatting. And the next thing, she turns around and she says, oh, yeah, can you meet me at this address tomorrow morning early? And I went, yeah, sure. See you then. Thanks, bye. Didn't think much more of it. Um, this was coming up to before I flew home. I had no clean clothes left. I kept one t-shirt clean in the suitcase for emergencies, and I said I better take out the emergency t-shirt. What was interesting about the emergency t-shirt was white and blue, the same colors as Mother Teresa's outfit, which is interesting. And it was an X-Files t-shirt because I'm an X-Files sci-fi nut. And on the back of the t-shirt it says, "The truth is out there."
Nice. Very appropriate.
So when I get up the next morning and I'm shoving the peppermint gel up my nose to stop the smell, I put on the last clean piece of clothing that I had with me. And I went to meet this woman, and I got to the address, and I looked and I went, oh wow, this is Mother House. And I went, oh wow, this is like Mother Teresa's headquarters. Okay. And the nun came out and greeted me and hugs and kisses and the whole lot. And we went in and she said, oh yeah, come on up. So I went to mass with them and she set me down. We were waiting for the priest and all this kind of stuff. And your peripheral, now I wear glasses for a reason, but I still have some vision left, thank God. Your peripheral vision and you kind of see something and you say, so in my peripheral vision, if that's what it's called, I could see someone being wheeled in beside me in a wheelchair with an oxygen tank on and a nurse. And in my head, I went, that's Mother Teresa. And I turned around and there she was here beside me. And she was dying. And the interesting thing was I'm very sensitive, intuitive energy. If there's something bad about to happen, like yesterday in my country, I got the feeling there was something bad and they did find something bad and it didn't explode. So that was all a good thing. And I can't explain a lot, but I'm very intuitive. And it was like a warm Hawaiian breeze came over me. And the only time I've felt something that strong since 1997 with Mother Teresa was meeting Oprah Winfrey for the first time. And again, this warm Hawaiian breeze came over me. It was really quite fascinating. Anyway, after that, Mother Teresa I was told by the nun, was wheeled up to her quarters, up to her room. And this was towards the end, and the Irish nun, she came over to me and she said, would you mind sitting out there for a half an hour for me? And I went, sure, cool. So I sat on the ledge, and this is a real open plan headquarters. I mean, they live, eat, sleep, work, do everything, communal washing, eating, everything. So there's this hustle and bustle. I can hear they had no washing machines, obviously. So they're using the traditional washing board, washing their white and blue clothing in the middle of this little enamel bath thing. And you can hear pots and pans and clanking and smell a bit of food. And it was like, I was loving this.
Yeah.
So the next thing was, I found out afterwards what happened. The Irish nun went up to Mother Teresa in her bed and she was dying. And she said, I don't know word for word, but basically, oh yeah, there's this crazy Irish girl downstairs making a documentary here with the street kids and the slums, rescue, doing whatever. And she told me afterwards that Mother Teresa ripped off her oxygen mask, jumped out of the bed, get out of my way, refused the wheelchair, ran downstairs and embraced me. And I'll never forget that.
She's such a tiny little thing. I mean, the photograph that is of you and her. I mean, you're not a big person either, but it's wow.
Half the size of me, and I'm 5'10", and she was like half the size of me. it was unbelievable, and just it was just I think back now and it's kind of like whoa, because I was very much in the moment. I was very present. I was deeply honored. I didn't actually. I mean this with respect, but this is kind of from a media angle. I didn't see it as a big deal. Um, because I thought of like, oh well, who am I? And I'm just this kid from who grew up in the middle of nowhere in Ireland, and it was like, oh wow, it was the media made a big deal out of it.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, I'll just turn my video off here for a moment, sorry.
Sure.
At the same time, you know, you did get to feel her energy, embrace her, and were you able to ask her any questions and
Oh, I mean, I
be with
mean,
her and
yeah, it was incredible, and I'll always remember. I mean, we talked interview, we talked and talked and talked. It was an amazing time, and what I what I remember and what I always share is something that she said that stays with me forever, and it was no matter what someone has done, no matter how bad they think it was, no matter how much they think they have messed up their life or another person's life, they are deserving of another chance. And everyone, no matter where they are, or where they were dumped on the street, or where they live on the road, or where they wash in a sewer, is entitled to compassion and a better life. And I will never, ever forget that. So she was a great believer that everyone, no matter what you have done, good or bad, you are entitled to another chance. And that stayed with me since that day.
that's amazing.
Um, yeah, that was the most profound, and it was funny because I mean, this was before she died. She hops up at one point, goes over in front of us to this dresser, opens up the drawers, and she pulls out three handwritten letters she's written to nuns in Ireland.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, will you please post this now?" And of course, mother, yeah, I'd be honored, of course. And she said, "I'll get you some stamps." I went, "Oh no, 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 I'll get the stamps." No, 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 it's fine. And she went, "I have stamps for you." And I didn't want to argue with Mother Teresa. So she went over to another drawer and she opened it, and it was like, I mean, this was crammed, stuffed full of international stamps. And there were Ireland stamps in there. And I was going, oh no, I mean, she went, and I went, oh, okay. She handed me three current Irish stamps, and I was going, huh? So I said, what is this? And she said that people send her stamps from all over the world so she can post her letters for free.
Ah, wow.
And I thought, oh my God, that's awesome. That's amazing. That's brilliant. And she handed me the three stamps and her three letters that she hand wrote in the envelopes. And it's funny because when I was flying home, uh, you know, the customs people might have thought my passport was important, but to me, the most important thing was Mother Teresa's post. So yeah, it was like
So
it's very.
yeah, look, I mean, I'm actually just sitting here in absolute awe at the moment. I'll just turn my video back on because it did freeze up a little bit. No, it's not going to let me do that. Um,
It's very hard to describe. I hope I am doing it some
look,
little bit of justice.
unbelievable. I mean, I'm sitting here in this feeling of, I don't know, humbleness and awe and amazement at, you know, the experience that you've had that I feel like now I'm getting an experience of as well. But this is literally just part of the story because 15 years later, I mean, from a 22-year-old, you know, going out there and doing what you just following your heart and your intuition and just being, to now, you know, only probably what, a month or two away from appearing on Oprah's live class TV. That's
It's
like,
it's
You could
It's
never
pretty
have
weird.
planned that if you tried, you know? It's sort of,
It's pretty weird. I mean, and the other side of it is, the media, of course, pick up on Oprah and they do their spin or whatever. But I'll tell you about Oprah. Um, I'm there in my hotel room in St. Louis, Missouri, before going down to the show in the Peabody Opera House, and Jody, I'm a pretty assertive, confident go-getter. I was bricking it. I was never so nervous. So, oh my God, I was
and
sick.
let me just put this into context, by the way, as well. It's like, you have spent the last 20 odd years around celebrities and movie stars and top athletes and, hugely inspirational, inspiring, and entertaining people. And here you were crumbled. You're going to be Oprah.
It was like I was the scariest moment of my life. I have mild asthma from all the fly. I mean, some of my air mile months were 41,000 kilometers a month, and out of that, I developed mild asthma from just dirty air conditioning units and planes. So I remember before I had to go and get my Ventolin, and I had to take an extra couple of puffs of my inhaler before going down to Oprah.
You know what I'm just getting at? Just a completely a random thing here, but you did not plan to meet Mother Teresa. It all just fell
No.
into place, and you were there, and you turned around, and here is this woman, and you felt her before you even saw her. And how different it is when something as amazing as that happens 15 years later, where you get the opportunity to be in your mind and you have to plan it and you have to get all this time of extra thought, which is keeping you out of the present moment. And, it's just amazing, isn't it? It's like,
It all goes out the window. I mean, what people don't know is when I got the call from the infamous Oprah call, Oprah Winfrey Network call, I missed the call. I'm listening to a voice message on my iPhone. I'm freaking out. I mean, like you wait your whole life for the phone call, and you miss it, and then look, the phone rang back. But the thing is, when the phone rang back, the iPhone was on zero battery.
oh dear.
So we're running around trying to find a recharge. Look, it all worked out, but what I'm saying is, you cannot plan for the epic. It'll just happen.
Look, that is probably, I think this is going to be the transformational travel story of the year, if not the decade, if not life, but absolutely amazing. And, I don't know, who knows, like getting out of your comfort zone, as you say, going into something that is so extremely different to what you normally would experience. You are an inspiration to hear this story to go, wow, 15 years later, look what's happened from just a desire to go and volunteer, and have a life-changing experience just on its own in the volunteer work, let alone
Yeah.
whatever else happened from there. So, wow. Thank you,
It,
Marie.
it's a pleasure. It's kind of like it's amazing where this little life that is extraordinary can take you. And I encourage everyone to just go with your gut, go with your feeling. It's like when I was 30, I had a flash in my head to go to Egypt. And, people would say, oh, that's crazy. But I'm the crazy one. I got in a flight and I flew to Egypt for a week because I said, something's going to happen here. And I didn't know what, but I trusted something was going to happen. And one day, I just had a dreadful headache from the heat. It was like 45, 46 degrees Celsius, which was whacking for me. Um, and I remember going into the hotel room, turning on the air conditioning, lying down on my bed, and having this experience. It was like a nanosecond pow, and I mean, hundreds of fully formed business concepts, ideas, systems flashed into my head in a second. And it was like, whoa! And again, I just went with it. I mean, inspirational travel has taken me to literally every corner of our planet, and I have seen what other people can only dream of or what they'll only ever read about in books. And I feel incredibly honored to just go with the crazy ideas and hunches that I have. And I guess I'm lucky that most of the time they work out.
Sounds like they've worked out amazingly. Look forward to seeing you again in future issues, Maria Reardon. It's an absolute pleasure, and I will make sure that everybody gets a chance to come and visit your blog and your Facebook page and get to know you as well.
Thank you so much, Jody, and all your audience. Love you. Bye bye.
Thanks, Marie.